I'm a white ally.
Hey,
What, Whitey?
how do you know you're really advocating for what black people want?
Of course I know what people of color want.
Did you go into black neighborhoods and take polls so you know whether or not you're representing their views?
Totally. I was like, what do you want white America to know? And they were like, the nuclear family is totally an oppressive social construct. And gender is fluid. Get used to it, cracker!
So they wanted to get rid of the nuclear family.
Of course, dude, it causes cancer.
What a coincidence that their politics aligned exactly with those of a white upper middle class liberal arts student.
I know, it's weird. It's like they're the perfect tool, group of people for the left to care about and help.
That is weird considering they tend to be more conservative on social issues like gay marriage.
Shut up, chubby! Now is the time for white people to be quiet and listen to black people repeat leftist talking points created by white people.
And what if a black person disagrees with BLM?
And you ain't black.
Seems circular.
No, it isn't, because our solutions will help black people.
Oh, wow. Well, no one else is claiming that.
I know, right?
Psych!
Yeah! Got him! Psych!
Alright, well, my point is, a lot of people have different solutions to the problems black people are facing.
That doesn't make them immune from criticism.
And by the way, the most obvious solution based on the data is promoting two-parent homes. But you refuse to do that.
Stop trying to hijack the movement with your religious rhetoric! We hijacked it first with our commie rhetoric! Ugh!
Fine, you want to talk about the part of BLM actually concerned with black lives?
You stand for actual victims like George Floyd, but then cheapen it by advocating for guys who got shot trying to kill cops, like Michael Brown.
You repeat, hands up, don't shoot, even though Eric Holder's Justice Department debunked that entire narrative. You claim unarmed black men are constantly killed by the police, but it only happened 8 times in 2019.
And some of those were self-defense.
Shut up! Your insolence enrages me! Boys! Attack! Dang coronavirus!
Hey,
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Let's make sure everything is working well. Okay. Now, I've got a completely different setup. Okay, my light's all a little weird. Everything's a little strange. I'm moving things around. I just temporarily threw my banner back up there. So I apologize if things sound a little off, or actually bump the volume up on that, or if things are just a little out of sorts. Also testing out another streaming platform today, so a lot of things are kind of happening in the background that you're all not aware of. It's one of the reasons that I'm a little bit late. Had to reset everything up. So the audio is bad. How is the audio bad? So Sam says there's bad audio. What about the rest of you? Is it better now? Oh, volume was low. Okay, bad audio doesn't help me out. Bad audio means static or you can't hear anything because everything is bad. Low volume I can fix. Okay, I can definitely fix low volume. Is that better? Stymie says the audio is clear. I'm looking at it. I mean, it's registering fairly high, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now it's okay. All right, okay. Because that's gonna happen when we're dealing with some of these new things here. Let me just get into my microphone settings just to make sure that everything is a-okay. You know what? I think I have this weird thing where I can bump it up here too in my editing software, which is all strange. It's a little weird how that all like links together. So, all right, that should be a lot better. Okay, yeah. So it just be very, very specific, because understand I'm reading 3 words, and so if you can, I'm sorry about the light, guys. It's weird. Everything is very strange, and I'm trying to get it all working. This is all very last minute, and then I'm swamped. Where's the stupid? Oh, well, you're just going to have to deal with it. So, sorry about the light. It shouldn't be an issue here. It should come through, but it's not. All right, so we're going to have to deal with it today. Just deal with it. All right. Any more complaints about it, and then I'm just gonna ignore you. Okay. So yes, it seems like it's nighttime right now, but again, we'll get the stream all set up and everything ready to go, and all of that. I'm moving everything around. I'm transferring things to a totally different computer system, so all of that is just kind of in the mix of everything while I'm setting up to do the interview with Zuby tomorrow morning, and I'm also setting up to do the national syndicated Lars Larson show, doing that this Thursday. Also doing that on Monday, and then we have my daughter's birthday on Wednesday, so I'm taking Wednesday off. We're also getting Friday off because of the holiday. It's a mess. Okay, everything's a mess, but it is going to be a short week. All right. So real quick before we get started, go to silverfoxart.com. Again, silverfoxart.com is the proud sponsor of the program. Custom, unique pieces of wall art. You can get them to make anything that you want. These are handmade. They're three-dimensional with backlighting. Normally, I have them displayed. For those of you who are new, I normally have them displayed behind me. But again, everything's kind of shifted around, and now behind that is my basement and my water heater, as opposed to it used to be right here. So everything is twisted. I redid my entire workspace over the weekend, so some stuff just didn't get done yet. All right, so that's why we're dealing with the weird light issues and all that other stuff. Okay, wow. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Let's just start with a couple of basic things here, just about the Freedom Tune there, and hopefully they don't get mad at me. I didn't get an opportunity to reach out to them and ask if I could use that, but I thought it was appropriate. I was looking around at various things that I could use for the intro video today, and that was just the one that spoke to me the most, so hopefully you enjoyed it. So we've got a couple of things here. The feds have busted a Black Lives Matter organizer for blackmailing local businesses. What else do we... Pop-ups everywhere. Okay. So this one is I think it was in Madison. Some guy tried to shut down and destroy another business unless he and his friends were provided with free food and drink. So basically, one of these Black Lives Matter organizers went to this restaurant and said, "You're going to give us free food and drinks. If you don't, we're going to shut your business down. We're going to destroy another business," and all of that stuff. You don't want 600 people to come here and destroy your business and burn it down. The cops are on our side, according to the complaint, which included interviews with the bar owner about what Johnson allegedly said. You notice that when you call them, nothing happens to us, they said. Well, that's actually true. The guy who was responsible for the shooting in Louisville, and the original reports, of course, it was a white supremacist. It's not homeless Hispanic dude. But they had been arrested several times and released as a result of the protests, and finally they ended up shooting somebody. So again, this person has been arrested. The authorities are looking at charging them. U.S. Attorney Scott Blader filed the charges against Devanir Johnson, alleging that he threatened to bash windows of businesses in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. Okay, if they didn't give him money, free food, that sort of thing. So he was trying to do an old mafia shakedown sort of a thing. So then we have some interesting statistics that kind of came out, and I thought that this was a little funny. And I think that most people kind of realize this. Pew Research Center was, the headline in the news release from the Pew Research Center was a masterclass in trying to make the headline fit the prevailing narrative. Recent protest attendees are more racially and ethnically diverse, younger than Americans overall. Large-scale protests and rallies for racial equality have captured public attention and amplified calls for policy reforms in recent weeks. Now, the interesting part about this particular study from Pew Research and the headline that they chose to use, recent protest attendees are more racially and ethnically diverse, and they're younger than Americans overall. So they're young and they're diverse, etc. But that, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind, because this is where things are going to get real interesting. Some 6% of U.S. adults say that they have attended a protest or a rally that focused on issues related to race or racial equality in the last month. I don't think anybody believes 6% of the country has actually done this, but I digress. So again, this is Pew Research Center. So Western Journal basically says, let's say you stopped reading here. What would be your takeaway on the reading comprehension test? Lots of people attended the protest. Those people skewed non-white. They tended to be urban and democratic in nature. However, it's not right. What is interesting is that the research shows, I mean, they are younger, no doubt about that. They are definitely younger than the general population of the country, which I think most of you would expect. That's typically how these things are. About 4 in 10, 41% of those who say they recently attended a protest focused on race are younger than 30. Among all U.S. adults, 19% are in this age group, according to Pew Research. Those aged 50 and older are underrepresented among the protests, while those aged 30 to 49 represent a similar share of those who have attended a protest as they do of the adult population overall in the country. Okay, now, again, I know I'm throwing some numbers at you, but this is where things get a little interesting. Are you ready for this? Black Americans, remember this whole thing is about black lives, right? Black Americans, allegedly about black lives, black Americans accounted for just 17% of those who attended the protest. So nationally, only 17% of black Americans are the protesters. So 83% are not even black? That's interesting. I mean, you could take that a couple of different ways. I suppose the first way you could take it is how Pew Research put in the headline, which is that the crowd is really diverse. The other way you can take it is looking at the numerous other polls that have been done over the past 4 years over Black Lives Matter, and you find out that actually the majority of the black community in the United States doesn't support them. They don't agree with the phrase Black Lives Matter. They differentiate from this type of ideology. So, and consistently, for 4 years, the number has been in the low to mid 60 percentile for black Americans. Majority of black Americans don't dislike the police. Majority of black Americans don't want to defund the police. In fact, the majority want to increase funding of the police. So this is interesting. So you can look at it a couple of different ways. Again, the first way is what Pew Research said. Pew Research said this is a diverse crowd of protesters. The other way of looking at it is there's not a lot of black people out here doing this. So maybe this isn't a representation of what black America actually wants. Hence why the Freedom Tune spoke to me today. And I just happened to just accidentally come across that one. So it was a perfect intro for today's video because of this. Hispanic Americans account for 22% of the recent protests. Let's see. Asians are 8%. 64% are white. Again, I find this to be very interesting. You get there's two different potential takes that you can take on this. One is, hey, again, this is a diverse crowd. The other one is maybe this doesn't represent black America and what they want after all. So I'll just leave that with you. You can all decide and all of that. Before we dive into this, yes, we will be talking just a little bit about the tweet that Trump tweeted out over the weekend with the guy doing the white power thing. Which I don't think was a serious white power thing. I think he was being sarcastic and responding to a guy calling him a Nazi and a fascist, but I digress. Still shouldn't have sent it out. This is why you do not tweet videos you haven't watched, okay? Maybe Twitter's onto something with that whole notification thing of, did you actually read this article or did you actually watch this video? Yeah, they might be onto something. Who knows? All right. Let's talk about the virus just a little bit. Lots of new information about the virus, and I wanted to kind of go over some of this because I think it is, again, critical that everybody gets some balance. The media right now is doing everything they can to scare the snot out of everybody and to fearmonger. God, it looks like I'm back in the studio, doesn't it? You know, the radio station studio with the bad lighting? That's what it looks like right now. Oh, well. All right, so 10 times more people have COVID-19 antibodies than are diagnosed. That's according to the CDC. So the CDC says that 10 times more people have the antibodies of the virus than are diagnosed with the virus. This is great news. It means that a lot more people have been infected with the virus, and we didn't know it. This means herd immunity is closer to being a real thing. It also means that as the virus weakens, according to the Italian research, the virus is actually weaker now than it used to be. Not that we're stronger necessarily, but the virus itself is weaker. Then this could lead to a much better potential outcome down the road. And did you notice that there was 500,000 people at the Chicago Pride festivities over the weekend? And the press didn't say a damn thing about it with the virus, did they? Of course not. But of course, over the weekend, whole bunch of stories, whole bunch of clashes with the media about Trump and masks and everything else, Vice President Pence and masks and all of that. Nobody said a damn thing about all of those people not socially distancing and many of them not having masks in Pride in Chicago. So Dr. Robert Redfield, he's the director of the CDC, said on Thursday that there are 10 times more people testing positive for COVID-19 antibodies than there are people being diagnosed with the virus. So again, this is great news. Closer herd immunity. The virus is more widespread, means it's less fatal than we thought. Everything is positive about all of this. Then we have a Penn State study, which shows 80 times more infections existing in March than the official count. 80 times, which again coincides with what we're seeing in multiple other studies, that far more of us have had the virus than we thought. Most people are going to be asymptomatic. Most of the people who are asymptomatic don't spread the virus as well. So that's according to the research. Again, this is all really positive news. Like I said, the press isn't going to give it to you because the press wants to scare you into going back into the House. During a Senate Homeland Security Committee remote hearing on May 6, one of the witnesses, Dr. David Katz, commenting on the lockdown in late March, said that we may have closed the barn door after all of the horses were out. A new study of hard data demonstrates that those horses left long before the shutdown and shows just how illogical the lockdown was when it was implemented. Now, again, we have been talking about this. Actually, I got to bring up some of the latest stuff that Britt Hume has, too, because he's got some good stuff lately also. But we've been talking about this before. First of all, we believe the first case in the United States was at least in September, okay? We only found out about the virus in mid-December, all right? So this is a dramatic timeline shift. And who knows if it was in the country before then. If it was in the country before then, it could have been spreading for quite some time. As many of us know, the past 2 years have been really bad flu season anyway. They actually shut down They actually shut down the schools last year to sanitize them because of the flu season. So Britt Hume, he has shared some new interesting things from the American Academy of Pediatrics on opening schools. The American Academy of Pediatrics finally weighed in on the school situation. Here, Elkhart Community Schools is asking parents for input. And so, how should we open the schools? I commented, I said, unlock the doors and open them. The AAP strongly advocates that all policy considerations for the coming school year should start with a goal of having students physically present in school. So again, this is the American Academy of Pediatrics on the virus. So basically what they are saying, the AAP is saying, put kids back in school, for crying out loud. This isn't a big deal. All right. What do we have here? Phil Kerpen is the guy that's doing the thread that Britt Hume is sharing. Lengthy time away from school and associated interruption of supportive services often results in social isolation, making it difficult for schools to identify and address important learning deficits, as well as child and adolescent physical or sexual abuse, substance use, depression, and suicidal ideation. This, in turn, places children and adolescents at considerable risk of morbidity and, in some cases, mortality. Let's see. AAP also says it's not the flu. SARS-CoV-2 appears to behave differently in children and adolescents than other common respiratory viruses such as influenza, on which much of the current guidance regarding school closures is based. Although children and adolescents play a major role in amplifying influenza outbreaks to date, this does not appear to be the case with SARS-CoV-2. In fact, there is one study that says that kids really don't spread it. So young people don't spread the virus. They might be a carrier, but they really don't spread it. Then, of course, you have more research which says that it spreads slower in school environments than anywhere else in the world. And then there's another bit of research that says that the virus doesn't spread on surfaces all that easily anymore. And the CDC's kind of gone back and forth on all of that. Let's see. Although many questions remain, the preponderance of evidence indicates that children and adolescents are less likely to be symptomatic and less likely to have severe disease resulting from SARS-CoV-2 infection. So the Academy of Pediatrics is basically saying, just send the kids back to school. Okay, send them back to school, and we will be able to go ahead and, we can socially distance them a little bit in classrooms and that sort of thing, restructure some activities, but it's time to send the kids back to school. So that's interesting information. Then we have, so the Penn State study, again, 80 times more infections existing in March than the official count. That's huge. That's in line with several other stories. And then I want to talk about Texas real quick, because this kind of came up previously. And Texas, I think, is a really interesting case, because people right now are freaking, look at Texas. First of all, the counties in Texas that are having the biggest jumps, they seem to be getting them from south of the border. So migrants that are coming back over the border to work in the economy illegally as the economy reopens appear to be the ones bringing the virus back. 2 studies last week showed that. Okay, there is some studies that indicate that the protests and the riots for George Floyd have led to an increase in cases, but in Texas in particular, the border counties are the ones that are experiencing the biggest growth. But there is a Texas hospital CEO. He gave a press conference here last week, and he basically said, look, the media and everybody's getting the numbers wrong. Okay, health officials in Texas are logging every single COVID-19 positive hospital patient in the state as a COVID-19 hospitalization. That's even if they're in the hospital for another reason. So if you break your arm and you go to the hospital to get your arm fixed, they're testing you, and then you might have the virus, and you might not know that you have the virus. They're counting that as a COVID-19 hospitalization. All right? So the health officials in Texas are just making sure that everybody's aware of this. The policy may be serving to artificially inflate what ostensibly seems like a significant COVID-19 surge in the state. Texas has lately been the focal point of national anxiety over concerns that a second wave of the virus has begun after the state began to reopen nearly 2 months ago. Now, at this point, I need to reiterate, the media has consistently said the exact opposite of what the experts have said. Okay, that is critical for you to understand. So the media is out there telling you second wave, it's Trump's fault, the virus is a partisan and doesn't infect people who are at the George Floyd protests or at the Pride rallies or any of that stuff. They only infect people if you're an anti-lockdown demonstrator or if you go to a Trump rally. That's the only time that the virus spreads itself. Like that video that we talked about last week where you had a bunch of people who were there in Phoenix, Arizona. MSNBC crew is there. They're ripping on everybody around there for not wearing masks. And you got a lady and a couple of guys there going, why don't you guys say the same crap about the riots and the protests? And the dude would not answer the question. He just refused to answer the question. He knew that they had him dead to rights. So the media is telling you second wave. The media is telling you that this thing is out of control. All of the experts from the national level on down to multiple state levels have said that's not the case. Now, the border statistics are interesting because states that have not really reopened, California, that sort of thing, even though California's closing some things back down again, but they didn't really reopen, not like Texas did. They have like the same rate. So those states that didn't reopen versus the states that did but are on the border have the same rates of increase in infections as each other. So it's clearly not the opening policy. It seems to be the proximity to the southern border. Mexico is still getting hit really hard by the virus. COVID-19 hospitalizations, there have been on a steady upward track for about the last 2 weeks, which I told you before. We expected. That was part of the plan when we reopened. You would see those increase in hospitalizations. It was always warned. The public was always warned that that was going to happen. I don't need to give you the specific numbers. Lindsay Rosales, the spokeswoman for the Texas Department of State Health Services, confirmed to Just the News this week that the state is categorizing every inpatient in the state with a positive COVID-19 test as a COVID-19 hospitalization, even if they're not in the hospital for the virus, okay? The number of hospitalized patients includes patients with a lab-confirmed case of COVID-19, even if the person is admitted to the hospital for a different reason, Rosales said. Asked if inpatients in the state are tested for COVID-19 whenever they arrive for treatment, she said hospitals set their own protocols for determining when and if to test patients for the virus. And you would assume that if somebody's going to the hospital, most hospitals, if not all of them, are probably going to test everybody, okay? That's just the assumption, but I don't know for sure. She said that the state does not keep track of the patients hospitalized with the coronavirus versus those hospitalized specifically because of it. Now, that's critical. So you've got the senior health officials in the state of Texas. You've got hospital CEOs in the state of Texas, all telling you the media is not telling you the truth here, and they are fear-mongering over something that they don't understand. All right? And if you are in the hospital with the virus, even though you're not there because of the virus, you are going to count just the same as if you were somebody who's hospitalized because of the virus. And they should not be counted in the same category. Texas Health Resources, one of the state's largest hospital systems, says on its website that its patients are tested before most procedures. Elective surgeries and other medical procedures in Texas have gone up in recent weeks as the state has gradually reopened following the lockdown. And again, hospital leaders, they're all telling everybody, calm your ass down. It's relax. This is not what the media is portraying it to be. It's funny because we ran into several hospital personnel here locally recently. They're all saying the same thing. Like, no, there's no surge. There's no surge in cases. There's nothing that's concerning at all in any of the data. Nothing. Now, they're all waiting to see what happens with protest data, okay? But we're still in the midst of all of that, so we're not going to have any inclination on that for another couple of weeks. But right now, it just doesn't look like there is any real concern throughout most of the country. Now, again, Elkhart, I had to pull up Elkhart's numbers before today's show because, Elkhart, Indiana, which is where I live, we got hit with the virus late. So we're just behind everybody. And there's a couple of places in the country that are dealing with that right now. All right, let's see. What do we have here? I thought our borders were closed due to the virus. Well, I mean, that's the normal borders. So they deported 65,000 people coming through a couple of months ago. It was 45,000 last month, okay? Those were illegals who were in the country. Now the court last week has ordered families to be reunited and that sort of stuff, but you don't catch everybody, okay? You don't catch everybody who comes through that border. We're talking about illegal immigrants who are coming back in as the economy reopens. But they are catching a lot of people, and they are able to expeditiously deport them because, and this is where the court ruling last week benefited the Trump administration, because of the virus. So there is an extra law that is in place right now that allows the Trump administration to deport somebody who comes here illegally faster as a result of the viral threat from the South. Okay, so, and that was upheld again last week, which is why those deportations have been very, very high, but they don't catch everybody. Let's see. Mom says, I was tested twice in 10 days, 2 hospitals before being admitted. Yeah, we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. All right, Susie Q. Then why are they requiring a mask? Okay, I want to play you a video. I want you to pay attention to this. This is apparently a journalist. I don't know the location of this, okay? But this guy is apparently a journalist, and he spoke to the city council in his community, and I just want you to listen to what this guy had to say. It was a pretty interesting exchange.
Thank you. Next up is John Ziegler, and then Deborah Baber will be.
It'll take a second
after.
for him to get up there.
After waiting for 2 hours and now getting 2 minutes, I'll get right to the point. This board is pretending that for the last 3 months, your emperor, Dr. Levin, has not been against a mask declaration. Now, all of a sudden, we're pretending that masks are everything, even forcing speakers to use masks. I would like the board to take a position. Was Dr. Levin wrong for those 3 months? And if he was this wrong, why has he not been removed? Why has he not been fired for being so catastrophically wrong? Or do you not really believe he was wrong? You're just wearing these masks because it is a signal of your great virtue.
Damn! Damn.
Because for the last 3 months, we have not worn them, and Ventura County has done outstandingly well and continues to do outstandingly well because we are not Los Angeles, we are not New York City, we never were going to be any of those things. Ironically, this is one of the few things Dr. Levin was actually right about. He has been wrong about everything. He is the one who told us we would have 400 to 600 hospitalizations a day. He revised that to 200 to 400 a day. We still haven't reached that in 1 day. We're barely over 200 for the entire ordeal that you guys have put us through. We now are panicked over 51 total hospitalizations in a county with 8 hospitals. Can you people do math? Can you please do basic math and understand where we are on this? This is not a crisis. You, however, have created one. You, in an effort to try to prevent all death, when we've had 43 deaths, have now ended all relevant life. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves. And this will never be forgotten. ever be forgotten. You will all be held accountable eventually, in this life or the next. You all better hope there is no hell, because when you die, that's where you're going. And guess what? You're not going to be dying of COVID either. Thank you.
Watch. Just keep watching. Keep watching. This is great. Yes! Look at his pants! Look at his pants! Oh, that was good stuff. That was great stuff there. All right, I found the light switch for my little light, so there we go. That's a little bit better. All right. Well, why now is Elkhart requiring it everywhere? Well, Susie, that is because Elkhart hasn't hit that plateau yet. Now, I'll look at their data today. Last week, they still hadn't hit it. And because Elkhart was starting to see those rising cases, they took extra precautions as a result. Like I said before, you know, the masks situation is, they made it very political for a long time. And you have a bunch of people now trying to say that, you know, people like you are making it political, when in fact it was the media and politicians who made it political. And as he pointed out, in many places, you know, for 3 months, people were telling you that, hey, this is not important. Masks are not a big deal. Masks are not going to do any good. And now they're saying that masks are the reason that anybody is going to survive this thing. Though the research suggests otherwise. But look, it's better than nothing. Nathan says that John Ziegler is a former radio host on KFI in L.A. He writes for Mediaite. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know who the guy is. So, but that was funny. The fact that his pants were stuffed into his socks, man, that just made it that much better. All right. New York is getting destroyed again. Still, de Blasio won't be reelected. I don't know that I've ever seen anywhere where somebody was more hated as a mayor than de Blasio. It's bizarre, but. From what I looked at, there were 26 or 28 new cases today in Elkhart County. That doesn't mean much, okay? So the origination date's the only thing that matters. The total number of new cases is totally irrelevant. Now, the media won't tell you that, but if those cases are people who've had it for 2 or 3 weeks, you know, they still get counted as new cases because it was only just discovered, but they're not new cases. They're old cases. So if you have asthma, you are exempt from them and require proof, would be a HIPAA violation. So how do they enforce that? Well, this is the thing that you're seeing on a lot of these Karen videos and public freakout videos, which I love anyway. But people who do have a legitimate medical exemption don't have a way of showing that. And they're still not allowed to get into private establishments who enforce a mask-only rule. And so a lot of people are getting upset because if you have states that say, and I've seen a couple of these freak-out videos from Michigan, states, you know, obviously say that if medically you cannot wear a mask because you have a condition, whether it's asthma or some other condition, and there are several, then you still can't go into a store if they're enforcing a mask ordinance. So, you know, the store, sometimes they offer to provide some kind of additional service to help you, and sometimes they don't. But yes, if you look at, Alex, that's 100%. If you look at the CDC's website for deaths, I mean, the chart is like this. It is ridiculous. In a good way, in an absolutely good way. The testing is definitely a little flawed. There's no doubt about that. But again, you're dealing with multiple types of tests. And we had the CDC. Remember, the CDC was also counting antibody tests with positive virus tests. They were counting them in the same category. They're not supposed to be counted in the same category. But that's what they were doing. And so there's all of this. I mean, everything has been bundled from the very beginning. I mean, honestly, ever since China lied to everybody and the World Health Organization helped them cover up that lie, we have been playing catch up and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Okay, remember, the lockdowns only happened because of the Imperial College of London study that said hundreds of millions of people were going to die. That study, Oxford proved wrong and was retracted the day after Oxford proved it was wrong, but the lockdowns had already been implemented based on that flawed data, and we never reopened and we never looked back. So we're all stuck in our house because of something that was basically a garbage piece of research. Let's see. River water kills the virus on the Lime bikes. Nice. Very nice, very nice. Let's see. Your son is on the front line, says the results are bad for accuracy. I would not be surprised, man. I really wouldn't. Really wouldn't. All right, I will look at the Elkhart data just because I haven't looked at the Elkhart data in a little while, and I'll look at it. I looked at it at the beginning of last week, so I'll check it out today before the radio show. Tomorrow morning, I will be interviewing Zuby, and I almost said Zuby because we're going to be doing Zuby on Zoom. You're not going to see that until later on, okay? So I'm going to air some of it on the radio show, and then I'll have, for my premium subscribers, they'll be able to watch the entire video, okay? So that'll be tomorrow morning. Wednesday I have off. Thursday I have the normal show, and I'm also filling in nationally for Lars Larson. Friday we have off. Monday I'm also filling in for Lars Larson, and then Tuesday everything is back to normal, okay? So kind of a busy week, to say the least. The virus will die if you drink water from the St. Joseph River. Did you see that some more people got sick from drinking sanitizer again? I don't know what people are thinking, but they still do it. Yeah, I know, right? It's like a tongue twister, Alex. Okay, any last minute questions before I go? You got like 2 minutes before I got to bounce on out of here and take care of some stuff before the radio show. Oh, is Mount Charleston on fire again in Nevada? 5,000 acres, 0% contained. Youch. It's summertime. Unofficially. All right. Anything? All right. No questions. All right. Good deal. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, go to silverfoxart.com. Again, they're a proud sponsor of the program. I'm assuming they're a proud sponsor of the program. Fantastic company. If you commission an art piece valued at over $250, make sure you use the code BananaFace25. Veterans automatically get 10% off at silverfoxart.com. If you have not signed up for premium, so you get my premium podcasts, and you get live streams like this every single day, go to caseythehost.podbean.com, okay? You should be following me on Podbean anyway if you want to get my podcasts. Then you can sign up for premium. Less than the cost of $2 a month. Well, not less than. $2 a month. Less than the cost of backup of coffee per month. And again, it supports me. It allows me to continue to do this. If I don't have that coming in, there's no motivation to do it. So definitely please go and do that. Podbean.com, download the free Podbean app, follow me, click on premium, and subscribe with your membership level. Brian says, Casey, did you see the Daily Beast hit piece on Van Jones? The left is eating their own. Okay, I told you several weeks ago. I have not seen that yet. I told you several weeks ago. Cover up, let them punch themselves out, and they'll start eating their own soon. And that is exactly what has happened. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Darren says, I am a proud sponsor. Good deal. Glad to hear it. All right, folks, I got to bounce. Hopefully I'll have the studio situation all taken care of by next week. Don't know if I'm going to have it taken care of this week because of everything that's going on. And I don't want to mess things up for all of the other stuff that I'm going to be doing, but hopefully it'll all be taken care of next week, okay? All right, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I can't grow without your support. I need you to like, subscribe, share, and if you're on YouTube, click that bell icon and hit all notifications. This is imperative if you don't want my channel to die. I'm demonetized. I need your help with the premium subscriptions on Podbean. But everything that you do that helps the channels grow, whichever platform you're watching it on right now, is critical. So please do that. If you like me and you like my content, whether you like this content, my radio show, doesn't matter. Please help me out. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything unless you subscribe to premium. And even then, just $2 a month for the minimum subscription plan. So I make things very easy for everybody, okay? But I need your help. So please do that. If you have, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. If not, I'm begging you. Please help do that. Help the channels grow. Help my social media grow, my presence grow, because that helps the career improve, and it also helps me continue to do extra things for all of you like this today. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll talk at you all on 95.3 MNC at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And don't forget to stay tuned for tomorrow because, again, I will have some of that interview with Zuby, which we'll record tomorrow morning. All right, folks, have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and be safe.